spin your passion into a business with Shopify and break sales records with the world's best converting checkout. Let's hear that one more time. The world's best converting checkout. Shopify's legendary checkout makes it easier for customers to shop on your website, across social media, and everywhere in between. Now that's music to your ears. Any way you spin it, you can be a smash hit with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/records.
Hello and welcome to the Fasting Focus Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Vicky and thank you for joining me today. I apologize about the lapse in previous episodes not regularly coming out. This episode I'm going to actually go into why that has been. So stay tuned for that and more fasting goodies and wisdom nuggets all along the way. Welcome to the Fasting Focus Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicky Sharon, and thank you for joining me. All right, welcome. First of all, let me give viewers watching me live now on Facebook and listeners, I'm giving you a big hug right now. A good, long, nice, warm, squishy, hello, friend, kind of hug. This week's episode is going to be kind of like a verbal journal entry sort of thing, just to get everybody up to speed if you're interested to find out where my headspace is at and what I like to see this thing I'm building, this thing, right? This living, breathing, beautiful thing that I'm building, what I like to see. And I feel like it's getting me choked up and I haven't even started talking about it. All right, so this trip, I was right because I knew it. I knew this trip that I recently, today is 3 weeks ago that I got back from going to Greece, but not just Greece as we, think, I'm going to like Santorini or like whatever. Flying into Athens initially and then having the experience to go from Athens to Ikaria, this little island in the middle of the Aegean Sea where I spent about 2 weeks with a bunch of fellow classmates, like-minded students through Arizona State University online. And, if anybody else in my kind of situation coming up to this kind of event, they would think in their mind like, oh, okay, I'm going to meet some fellow like-minded individuals. I'm going to, learn about what is going to be taught and implemented with these courses that we're taking while we're over there. I'm going to experience the land. It's going to be great. But it's the best way I can kind of equate it and explain it would be as if you've ever either befriended, knew very intimately about like a foreign exchange kind of student. Because I felt like we were on the flip side, because I've always befriended anytime I've encountered or met foreign exchange students. I just befriend them. I don't know. That's just my thing. I always become really good friends with them. So I felt like it was flipped where we were the foreign exchange students studying abroad. Obviously we were, but being directly immersed in this culture that is pretty much like, the flip side opposite of what American culture is, moment to moment, day to day, week to month to year, for lifetime, really. The hustle, the bustle, the level of stress, the level of anxieties about everything. I feel like obviously they still exist, because if we think about it, our worries are still there. Getting off the plane, walking into the little airport where we were greeted by our guides was awesome. That gave me like a real kind of tiptoe into what this culture is like and how just honest and genuine, kind, sweet, caring, like just very welcoming, very, it felt like we were being welcomed into their home, and the entire island is their home, because really that's how it is. throughout the different excursions, the stays that we've been at, the different places that we slept, the different places that we went and experienced, there was a lot of common experiences shared, not just within myself, but other students, as well as the professors that came along leading the trip. Really, the points were easy to be proven because it was always there around us. And the big thing that I noticed right off the bat, and it was mentioned and discussed as well previously, but you think, oh yeah, this won't be fine. It'll be all right. You'll be all right. The concept of time and how time obsessed and hurry, rush, got to get it done, got to hurry up and meet this deadline, got to call this person back, got to text that person back, got to email them back. That working towards a deadline, hyper level of stress that we have, and how much the body actually holds on to it is like a really scary thing. And when we were on the island in Ikaria, that this wasn't really a thing. People just, obviously they're not going to be just, lumps on a log all day being super lazy, but they have like a sense of passion, pride, and of like pleasure that there's more of this thought process with being okay with being in the moment that you're in. And it's very commonly accepted, as we very quickly understood, that, if they say meet at 12 o'clock, noontime, it very likely could also end up being around, maybe it'll bump to 12:30. If it gets closer to 1 o'clock, that's just how it is. Where that wouldn't fly in the United States. Like that would be just, oh my gosh, they're lazy. They forgot about me. They didn't have blah, 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 they're responsible. Like that's completely the other way around. There's no real hurry, rush in the, the folks that live on the island versus you see the tourists come in and I forget who I was talking to, but they were telling me how they could kind of discern who were the tourists and who obviously lived there. I mean, if they live there, they probably are going to know who's who, because I've seen, another thing I've seen is that the islanders know each other and they befriend each other. They, even though the villages may be a little bit distance apart, they know each other. They come together. They unite to different things like, farming practices or restaurants or like, favors or things they need help with. Like you see that a lot. That sense of community within the entire island, despite the villages that they're like, that's beautiful. That is incredible. And the mentality with the not always adhering to a watch, to a timeline, how much that allows them to be in the moment, not just with their attitude and their mindset, but how that kind of, it affects the overall, just your demeanor, how you react or respond to people, how your level of like patience is with yourself, and so many other things that we kind of take for granted, maybe unintentionally, in the United States here. But this is stuff that definitely happens, and it's scary the way that it can manifest in the body, the way that we, as an American culture, hyper obsess about these things that, like I've mentioned before, those are the external locus of control. Like that's, like I said, the hula hoop of control, that's outside the hula hoop. Things that you can't control outside the hula hoop, we probably shouldn't worry about. So if somebody's, running late, or if you feel they're being irresponsible, and it's just, there's a different mindset with what gets them, like what bothers them, what annoys them. And you don't even see that. You don't see it on the very, very narrow roads driving through. We were always in one of those like little mini coach travel buses. And those are some narrow roads, and the buildings have, chipped away paint and stone from vehicles like clipping it as they go by. And throughout the times as we were driving, I remember there was a good handful of times at least where our vehicle would be blocking the oncoming traffic, and they would be usually like a little car or whatever. And there was no getting disgruntled. There was no getting short of, oh my gosh, move out. Like that's what we would see in American culture, right? Beep, 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 beep. It was just the little driver would back up and move out of the way, and they both, I've seen this. I don't think there was a time that I didn't see it, because I pay attention to this stuff because I'm really weird. Maybe you would pay attention to this stuff too. But I would look to see what the responses were and the reactions were of both drivers, our driver as well as the oncoming driver. And it was just cordial. It was, hey, you all right? Okay, you good? All right, bye. Have a good, safe driving, drive on. Like, there was no hard feelings. There was no, getting all your britches in a twist, as, I would say before. There was just a common acceptance of, hey, let me back up. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, yep, go through. You good? You safe? You all right? And that mentality, that mindset, that way of life on looking at things as, are they inconveniences? Are they something that's going to motivate you to be like, oh, I got to change and do this a little bit differently or whatever. Like there's such a lower level of just annoyances that it doesn't bug them. It doesn't bug them. And I don't want to say I kind of wanted to see if they got perturbed or annoyed at all, but I didn't really see any angry, disgruntled islanders when we were over there. And I think that's another beautiful testament to the culture and just the mindset overall on the island. I think that was awesome. So besides the mindset, besides the thoughts and feelings generally shared, and it wasn't so lackadaisical. It was just like they're going to stay more in the moment and not let little annoyances like overcome them. Obviously, the way that all the little elements are connected, like the mindset and the ability to stay calm in heated, like could potentially be these heated situations, but they don't get heated and angry and upset and everything. How that allows them to be present, especially with preparing the foods that they cook, and attentiveness to the food choices that they make, where they get them from, the pride and passion, purpose they get in the growing process, the cultivating, the connection with maybe local farmers, local growers that source and get the food for them. That all beautiful kind of communicative relationship that has all with each other is very well felt on the island as well. And of course there's going to be like convenience foods and things, but they're not very often. They are in some like little stores here and there, but predominantly like you're going to see the local vendors, the local farmers, the local restaurant owners and chefs. And, for example, there was this one village that we were in visiting for the day that had the grocery store, but right next to it, you literally walk outside through all the little kittens everywhere. And there was a euro. I'm still saying it wrong. A euro stand right outside. And they were extremely accommodating because obviously I wasn't going to have the meat, but I was like, can you just do all the veggies and like the tzatziki, like all the sauce and everything? And he's like, oh, vegetarian. Yes, I got that. So he like put it all together, made a fantastic vegetarian gyro that was so good. But that's besides the point. The way that just the culture with fresh fruit, fresh everything, the fresh herbs, fresh vegetables, fruit, and how it's always so locally accessible, I personally feel that plays a very large role in why the culture is the way that it is, and how they're able to continue to thrive with this understanding and existence towards the relationship that they have with the land that they reside on. There was a couple other things that popped into my mind that I think were really important, really valuable as well. And with the food, with the mindset, one of the ladies that was our guides for this trip, very well known on the island, and her habits with creating and having her outlet, like a lot of folks on the island have this outlet where they are creating, making something, putting stuff together, and making new from something that was discarded as trash before. And she had this beautiful pile, and she invited us for a meal inside her house, and she had this beautiful pile of like serving plates. And these serving plates, they look like a paper mache kind of thing. And just beautifully, you can see that she took the time to repurpose, reuse these once discarded things. And that mindset of reusing and using what's already there instead of going out of their way to spend money to buy something brand new, I think speaks volumes for the overall culture of the island as well. And I remember when we were on a hike once, our tour guide was pointing us and explaining that when you constantly see all the cars in people's properties, that they're not just sitting there as junk. They work together with the other islanders to, when somebody's car breaks down, if they need some kind of replacement part or something where they another car, it's kind of like when you pass away and you're an organ donor, if somebody can use a part of you for something, it's kind of like that. So the way that he was explaining it, and I think that's really intelligent and very just it speaks so highly of the mindset, like I talked about before, appreciating what they have and not feeling like, oh, it doesn't work, it's broken, let's throw it away and get a brand new one. It's like, no, let's come together as a community. Let's see if, somebody down the street knows or has a solution to this problem. And the way that they come together, and they're always staying as connected as possible, and the way that they greet each other, the way that they are just, everybody seems to be like, even when they're just like, oh, this is my neighbor or this is my friend from, this or that, the way that they converse with each other, you can tell that it's not just like, oh yeah, just pleasantries, like, oh, how you doing? Yep. All right, I'm fine. Yep. And then we just keep walking to somebody that you see in the grocery store. For us, for them, it's like family is everywhere. It's like, if you're an islander, if you share the island with them, it's like your family. And I see it from, doesn't matter, like social, I don't know why I'm getting upset about, I can feel myself getting a little bit emotional because I think this is truly beautiful. Anyway, the people on the island, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter your social status. It doesn't matter if you're like, a prominent doctor or like a janitor. And I remember this being discussed pretty early on in our trip about how everybody's equal. And I think that's so beautiful. Like, only 17 minutes in, I'm already shedding tears. This is great. So the mindset that everybody is equal and to treat everybody with respect, I think is incredible. And those lessons alone, personally, that made a very significant impact. Sorry again. Because sometimes when you go to, sometimes when you go to maybe not even a different country altogether, but going out of your state, out of your town, to a different neighborhood even, to go and be vulnerable and try to open up to other people around you. It's not always easy, especially like old Vicky, right? That would have been extremely challenging, but to be welcomed immediately, not even knowing who we are, coming into this island, and she had a little like painted piece of paper that said welcome ASU, and she even made a beautiful that's a pretty good effort, I would say, from an artistic point of view. The way that she painted the ASU logo and like welcome to Ikaria like on there, and she had it all positioned, and it was so sweet. It was so sweet, and so appreciative of her. We're so appreciative of her for doing that. And it was like, that was a taste of, wow, like we're already being treated very nicely and just incredibly respectfully. And I took that to heart, and I wanted to, throughout my time, and I did, speak to as many islanders and folks that I could and connect with them to kind of find out a little bit more about what their personality is. Has it always been like that? Is it just because you moved to the island? Does the island, the culture of the island like influence? I've gotten so much information, and honestly, this podcast would end up being like hours and hours long. But the big takeaways that I had, in addition to what I already talked about with the mindset, with the food availability, with the treatment and the level of respect that everybody has for each other, it's really, really beautiful when you can experience something so moving as this is. Whew, again with the tears, Vicky, come on. Whew. Like nerd Vicky, I was like, ooh, we're going to study blue zones. Ooh, this is going to be good. Like, I'm going to learn, we're going to get like data, we're going to do like all this stuff. And yes, there was some of that elements, but more than that, it was a whoosh. We're going to like put you into this beautiful, awesome Greek island pudding culture. Like, I don't know why I put pudding in there, but where you're just kind of like, woo, like you go in and immediately from stepping off the plane, you feel like, I can put my shoulders down. Like you can feel it's just maybe a little out there. If you get me, you get me. But I'm going to say it, it felt like an energy. It felt like a vibe getting off of the plane and just feeling like it just felt so chill, so relaxed. And it's moving. It's incredibly moving because, whoo, I feel it again. That those tears, they don't stop. That's probably why I was avoiding doing this. You feel like this is how I wish lots of people could see and view their life despite hardships, because people that I talked to had hardships, okay? Despite stuff going on in their life, you can still choose. You can make a deliberate, conscious decision to be like, yeah, I've had stuff, but right now, in this moment, as they do, and as I've talked to you all about having this bodily awareness to help keep wusa, right? Having this awareness can make a tremendous difference. It can make an absolutely massive, massive difference, because it pulls you away from dwelling on the past, fretting about the future. It keeps you right to this very second, to where you're breathing and you realize every physical sensation throughout your body. Am I really hungry or not? No. Do I want to be social or not? Like this awareness, the reinforcement of having that awareness became all the more meaningful for me to convey and share with you guys. And again, awareness with ourselves within that hula hoop of control, your inner locus of control. That's your territory. That's your, where you should have your worries, in the here and the now. And of course we have to care about what's behind and in front of us, but we shouldn't live there. We shouldn't obsess about it. What's coming? Yes, we can do things about. We can be aware of our habits. We can be aware of routines, of things that we need to change and stuff. But again, like I've mentioned, harping and obsessing about things that have happened to you in the past, letting that take over and dictate how you live your life day in, day out, holding on to the bodily, physical stress. Like, sorry guys, again, living in a state of stress, fear, and anxiety is hard. It's messy, it's painful, and the body responds, and the body does not like it. It does not. Because I've been there. I still have times where I go back there for short periods of time I do. But that's predominantly because of widowhood. But that's not this podcast necessarily. But anyway, the sense of just finding the happiness and holding on to the happiness in your life can be done. And that's deliberate choice. Like that is deliberate choice that becomes easier and more enjoyable over time. And it is something that, again, as I've said in my previous podcast episodes, with this lifestyle, it is something that may not be easy at first. It may take practice. It may take a habit to develop. As with fasting, once you are more consistent in it, it will be easier to keep up with it. And we're creatures of habit, yes. And we know that being good at something takes persistent effort. So if you want to be able to have a happier disposition, happier outlook on your life, make the decision to change your point of view, change your perspective, get up, move around, and literally see things from a different perspective, because sometimes that can make all the difference as well. These tiny little shifts will add up over time. I feel like I'm a little bit scatterbrained, so I apologize if this podcast episode was a little bit all over the place. The future podcast episodes may have future tie-ins to like elements and things I've experienced in Greece. So if you have more specific questions or things that you would like to see me cover on upcoming episodes, or going into more specific experiences that I had in Greece, there is more things coming. But one of the other things that I needed to reinforce since coming home as well is, like I said first, or very early on in the podcast, the element of time and how the stressors with overfilling and overworking yourself, I felt like I was kind of spread too thin, and I need to kind of reallocate where my work effort should be. And I definitely am going to be keeping up these podcast episodes. So I do apologize in advance if they are a bit irregular in their when the podcast drops. If it's a little bit like out of habitual pattern, I would love to be in a regular pattern, but I don't want to overwork myself, overstress myself, because I love the bit calmer mentality I came back with as a beautiful unintended souvenir from this trip. So I apologize again beforehand as well, again, with the irregularity in my posting of these podcast episodes, but I do welcome and encourage all folks needing to connect with me directly for assistance, support, guidance, consultation, whatever you'd like and need. I do have those time spots available on my website, thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. I have said in the past, I will not turn anybody away for limited income, but I'm willing to work with folks if you need assistance with that. My podcast is what it is, and I love it. I love doing the consulting with folks, as that does take a little bit of time. That is my needing to have a minimal fee. If you are able to afford that, great. If not, please reach out, and I will be more than happy to work things out where you at least get some assistance in the right direction. But I never want to have anybody feel like just because they can't pay that they don't need to be talking to me. But I want to be able to make sure that everybody has everything that they need in order to be successful on this journey. Because your life is meaningful. It is absolutely meaningful. You need to remember that this life is beautiful. It's valuable. It's incredible. It's awesome. But we need to take care of ourselves because it can be short. And I don't want it to be short for you. I want you to have a long, beautiful, long, meaningful life, and doing everything that you want to do for your life. You can, okay? I'm going to give you all watching and listening a big, big hug. I believe in you all. I believe in you all. I hope you all are doing really great. Take care of yourselves, and we will connect next time. So again, I believe in you, even if you don't. So take care of yourself, all right? Bye. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2022. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.
So, you've got an idea for a business, the store of your dreams. There's just one thing to figure out: everything. That's why Shopify's all-in-one commerce platform makes it easy to sell online, in person, and everywhere else. Sell on social media, source products with an app to get that first sale feeling. It's the only solution that gives you everything you need to sell everywhere you want. So when you're ready to bring your idea to life, power it up with Shopify.
Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/listen.